And we're doing a little video sharing memories of Grandpa and
Grandpa
family
DiRocco.
history. Yes, DiRocco. Well, do you have any memories, Aunt Jean, of Grandpa Nick when he was in his early 20s, when you were a youngin'?
Well, the one thing that I can remember is I spent a week or so at your mother's house when I was about maybe 8 or 9 years old, something like that. And I remember him eating steak, and it seemed like a strange thing. He had to have steak for breakfast, steak for lunch, and steak for dinner. He just loved his steak.
He's a big man.
Yeah.
You mean my mother's house?
Yes.
Yeah.
I spent some time with him. In fact, that's when I got winery. I was a big girl.
Oh, my mother was big on that.
I was a big girl, too. I was still wedding at night. But she says, Barbara doesn't, and you shouldn't.
She was real strict.
So there was a 20-year age difference between you guys. So
19.
Or 19 years, so
a couple months short of 19.
almost a generation apart.
Right, that's right. Because he was dating Rita 4 years before they got married. So they could have
Really?
gotten married when he was like 16, 17, you know, they did back in those days. And he would have been married before I was even born.
Well, I learned something.
Yeah, so he was, it took them 4 years to have you. Otherwise, we would have been a lot closer in age.
And did you grow up in the same house that Grandpa did?
Well, he grew up in the city of Philadelphia until he was, about 15. And then they moved, maybe 14, 13, something like that. And then they moved to Manoa, where I was born.
Built that house, right?
My dad built that house, right. In fact, they wouldn't even let him buy the property. He had to have a friend buy the property, and then he bought it back from him for $1 because they were very prejudiced about us moving into the neighborhood, afraid that we may downgrade the neighborhood.
Did they have racial covenants then, saying that you couldn't move in if you were a specific ethnic
They
background?
didn't say that, but that's what they were getting at. And our house happened to be the nicer home because of him being a stonemason. He started to build it in stone, and they didn't like that, so he only got halfway built in stone. That's why it never became a full stone house.
So your parents are my great-grandparents, Antonio and Elodia DiRocco. Okay. Well, let's take a look at some pictures. Can you hold them up for the camera in the order they're in the pile?
Me or your mother?
It doesn't matter.
Go ahead. You tell.
Here's Grandpa and
My
Grandma
parents'
DiRocco.
wedding day. My dad was 20 and my mother was 19.
Approximately what year?
1936.
Okay. Handsome couple.
They were. He was so tall compared to her. She was like 4 foot 10 or 11, 9, 10, 11, something like that. And he was close to 6'3" at that time.
Yeah.
And when they took their wedding pictures, these right here, standing, she was up on a box, and then he was behind her or next to her.
Okay.
I didn't remember. Nick DiRocco with 2 of his sons. Well, there's only 2 sons, Randy and, no, this one's Randy and this one's Tony.
Okay.
Tony is the one that drowned in the lake. Okay. This picture was taken in back of the house in Manoa when I was little, because I was about 3. She had just given, your mother had just given me a perm that day. So there's Rita. And
Grandma DiRocco.
your grandma, that's right. And behind her is my brother Angelo that died. He must be about...
Steve's dad.
Right, that's right.
And what kind of car is that?
That's a LaSalle,
A LaSalle.
1939 LaSalle.
Was that somebody's house?
That was at our house. But what you see back there is our next door neighbor, the Lukens' house.
Oh, okay.
But that was a very nice car. It was like the equivalent of a big Cadillac today. In fact, a very, very nice car.
Okay.
Grandpa Antonio DiRocco did very well in the construction stonemason work. Here again is Tony and Randy.
Did great-grandpa DiRocco have his own business?
Yes.
Okay.
He worked for Jack Kelly. I don't know if you remember who Jack
Grace
Kelly,
Kelly's
father, and he was a brick mason at that time for Jack Kelly, and Jack said that he was such a good mason that he encouraged him to go in business for himself.
Do you remember the company name? Or did he have a name?
DiRocco and Sons.
Oh, my dad's company name, you mean?
Yeah.
DiRocco and Sons, Antonio DiRocco and Sons.
All right.
And then here, this was taken here. This was back when my living room was small. This is Randy DiRocco. Excuse me, I have to look. I think that's Laura sitting on Randy's lap, and that's his two sisters, Tori. That one's Tori, and that one's Tammy.
Okay.
This is Barbara when she was about
Little munchkin mom.
3 or 4,
Chubbykins.
5 months. Well, like I was, they even called me, after this little fat lady in our church, her name was Christine, they called me Little Christine. Same thing.
Okay.
And like fat babies.
Yeah, they're cuddly. And then this is Barbara, your mother, again with her mother.
Mom
her
and Grandma.
I think you must have been about 3 or 4 in this one.
Under 5 anyway.
And this one here is your Grandpa Nick and his brother Al. There's like 2.5 years difference, but Al is the shortest in the family and Nick is the tallest in the family.
So this must be sometime in the mid-20s then?
Oh no.
He was born in 1916.
No, he's not very old there.
Well, yeah, maybe mid-20s. He could be 10 or 12 years old.
Okay.
Okay.
I wonder what they fed him that they didn't feed Uncle Al.
I don't know, but he didn't like being so big because he quit school in about the 8th grade because he was so tall. He felt out of place in school. He was like a man. Everybody else was like a kid. I don't know if you can see this. Can you get that in there?
Yeah.
That is your mother when she was stationed at LAX flying. And my mother and dad, which is your great-grandma.
Having a hard time focusing. Okay, there we go.
Oh, because I moved it forward?
Now that's Mom with who?
My mother and father, your
great-grandpa.
In Los Angeles.
Antonio and Elodia DiRocco?
Right.
That's where?
In Los Angeles area, Baldwin Hills area.
Okay.
What was their address?
4833 Angeles Vista Boulevard. And it was Angel's View. You could see the whole city of Los Angeles from our front yard.
It was a beautiful house.
Now this here is, again, Barbara's grandparents, your great-grandparents.
Great-grandpa Antonio and Elodia in the back, left and right.
Right. And in the front are Angelina and, what was his name, Mano? This would be Jerry's grandparents. Nick? Was it? No.
Well, the nickname was Chick.
Chick? That was...
One of the sons, I think, was named for him. I can't think
But
of
anyway,
the proper
this is
name.
in Atlantic City, and they're wonderful-looking bathing suits in the
Oh.
early 20s, I'd say it is. And then this is one of the Mano girls. She lived on the Pike there. Yeah.
Or Leah.
No, Connie, I think it was.
Okay.
Oh, this one here is your mother at her high school picture.
Mom on the bottom left. And Aunt Jean.
This is me, a year or 2 after high school, when I was going to be to college.
They could be sisters.
Yeah, there's a resemblance there. Maybe it's the hair, hairstyle. This is your mother and dad dancing at their wedding.
Mom and Dad at their wedding in '62. Nice couple.
Yes, very nice.
Lots of people in this next one.
This is Italian get-together, a real Italian get-together. This is downtown Philadelphia.
Can you point people out?
I only know one person. This right here is my father's sister, Michelina DiMarco. I almost forgot her last name. Mary.
So one of Grandpa's aunts.
Mother?
No, that's Agavina is Lena's mother. They had Mary and 2 boys, or 3 boys. Nick, Louie. I think that's it. No, there's Joe. Joe. They had 3 boys and a girl.
Okay.
And again, this one is hard to see. This is my father's sister, and with her husband, Mike.
And what was her name?
Michelina.
Oh, okay, same person.
And this one here, I think, at least I've always thought it was my father's father, which would be Nicholas DiRocco.
Who Grandpa was named after?
He never came to America.
My mother's father? Oh no, my father's father, no. He never came to America. My father supported him until he died. He always took care of him, even though he was quite mean to my father. In fact, he took all his money away whenever he did any work, so that's why my dad came to America, so that he could make his own living. But he never, he never gave up on his
So that would have been taken somewhere around 1910 or so?
No, my dad came here. Oh, well, he's 74 at that time. Gee, I don't know how old. It might have been sent to America, you know, he's probably sent some pictures. And this is my father's mother. Her name was Conchetta, right? Or Jacinta. I get those two.
Probably Conchetta.
Because that's what my name would have been if Gino hadn't died.
Connie.
Connie, right. Looks pretty old there.
Yeah.
No teeth.
No teeth.
And
otherwise, she'd be pretty.
This is my mother, again, when she was probably in her 30s or so, I'd say.
My great-grandma. Okay.
And this is your great-grandma over here with her 2 sisters. This was taken after we moved to California.
What are their names?
Elodia, Mary, and Agavina.
Okay.
And this here is 1970 Christmas at the McGill's house.
Oh, yeah, that was the year.
Try to focus here.
Lord.
Yes.
Okay.
Just 4 weeks or so before.
Great Grandpa and
On my birthday,
all the Goldsmiths
my 30th
and
birthday.
Barbie and I and Dad. All right.
Okay. And again, this is my father's sister, Michelina.
Okay.
This is my mother and her sister. Let's see, it says it was taken in 1932.
Which sister?
That's her sister Mary.
Okay.
She's the one that was not a Christian. Adavina was. She's the one that ousted my mother from the family because of becoming a Christian.
Was she older?
Yes, she was the oldest. My mother was
Well,
the
there
middle.
was a price to pay.
Yeah. And again, my father with his sister. They were the only 2 children in their family, which is unusual for an Italian family. But I think there was one that had died at birth or something like that.
Okay.
And again, my father here, he was 80 in this picture.
And how old was he when he passed away?
He was 6 weeks short of his 86th birthday. Almost made 86.
I remember we were all down here. And what year did we decide it was? 75?
Yes.
Okay.
This is Boulevard. I love that big fireplace. It's almost as tall, well, it was taller than I was. But anyways, that is my father and mother, which is your great-grandmother and grandfather. And this is your Uncle George, whose real name was Anthony, and his wife, who has passed on, and her mother.
What was his wife's name?
Marie.
Okay.
Now this is your uncle. This would be your great uncle, your mother's uncle Al, and his daughter Nancy on her 1st birthday.
Okay.
And she's about 6 years younger than you, because she was born in, I shouldn't say those things, but she's about 6 years younger than you.
Watch your mouth.
George was how many years younger than Grandpa?
George?
Mm-hmm. That was the picture before that.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Here he is again.
This is George again in our
Is there a
house with
date
the
on that?
balcony. You want to know how much difference between your father and his brother
my
George?
grandpa and his brother George, and then his brother Al.
3.5, about 4 years, about 3.5 years.
And how about the last picture, Al? How many years?
Al is about 2.5, 2 years and 5 months.
Okay. So was he the second oldest then?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
It was your grandfather Nicholas, then Alfonso, Anthony, also known as George,
Mm-hmm.
Gino, who passed on,
And we'll get to Gina soon.
Rudy, Rodolfo, actually, and then Angelo,
Okay.
who's also deceased.
Steve and Debbie's?
No,
Is
yeah.
that
Steve and
Steve's sister's
Debbie's
name? Debbie, okay.
This is me,
Aunt Jean, Grandpa's youngest sibling, only sister,
only sister.
looking a lot like her daughter.
My daughter. Oh, that's
Yes.
right, Laura.
Yes, you do look a lot like her in that.
That was just before I moved to California. This here is Bob's brother, my husband, I guess...
Uncle?
Uncle? Yeah, in-law. Uncle, his brother and wife when they got married, and this is myself and Bob with Laura, David, and Randy. Robbie was on the way. So we don't have any pictures of Robbie anyplace here.
Okay.
And this is my brother Angelo again, just before he got married, or just about that time anyway.
Steve and Debbie's dad. How old would he have been there?
Well, let's see. Pat was 17, and I think he's about 5 or 6 years older, so that make him, what, 22 or
22.
20? And this here is at the backyard of our house on Angeles Vista of my brother Ange on this side, and my brother Anthony George. And this is our cousin Armin Mattia from San Diego. DiRocco, your great-grandpa's funeral. And this is, well, we'll start over here. This is your grandpa Nick DiRocco. And then this is Anthony George DiRocco. Rudy, Alphonse, and me.
And
Ange.
Angela.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ange. I didn't see you down there in the corner. And this here is my brother Gino that died at the age of 11 and a half. He's the one that started us all into the life with Christ.
The Lutheran church.
At the Lutheran church, yes.
And he's the reason also that your grandmother accepted Christ, right?
My mother.
Or your mother, excuse me.
Your,
My great-grandmother.
your great-grandmother.
Mom's grandma.
Yes. In
Yeah.
fact, when he died, he told her, or just before he died, of course, he said that he wasn't worried about dying because he knew where he was going to be going because he had received Christ not maybe that summer before or something like that.
And about when did he die?
Well, I think it was 1933.
Okay. And next is going to be the church that the family began to go to.
Yes, the
What was the name of the church?
Italian Pentecostal Church.
Okay, I'm going to have to kind of pan this, I guess.
Okay,
It's hard to get it off. If you can point out,
McKean, 1543 McKean Street.
that's in Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
If you can point out people of interest in here.
Okay, Barbara, you want to hold that in? Let's see if I can remember now. I need my glasses. Can I have my glasses, honey? Well, Barbara, you can start on that end. No, that one right there. This is George, my brother George.
Mm-hmm.
And you think you know someone in there, don't you, Pastor
Well,
Perna?
I think he's the
feel-
person behind.
We
Go ahead,
feel
point out.
that these two
One of
young
those two.
men might be the Perna boys, Al and Joe Perna. And I'd have to show them to know for sure.
Well, maybe you can borrow this.
Okay,
This,
and great grandpa's in there.
Yes, he's right here with his hand holding the flag out. And in front of him is my mother, which is your great-grandmother, holding your mother in her arms. Must have taken you to Sunday school. See, you went to Sunday school when you were about 1.5 years old. And then someplace down here, looking upside down, it's hard to find, is, oh, there I am, right there.
There's Aunt Jean.
And then we have some, look for a hat with 2 flowers in it. I always look for that hat with 2 flowers. No, 2 white flowers. Oh, well, I can't find it now. That's Lena? That's my cousin Lena, yes. Oh, here she is, right there.
Lena Martella.
Mm-hmm, yes. That was on Mother's Day.
Oh.
1937?
No.
1942.
Oh, 42, excuse me. I was taking 2 years after Dad was born. 42. All right. Well, this was good. We saw a lot of good pictures.
The Italian flag?
No.
No, that's the church, the Christian flag. You probably can't see the cross. See, there's a little bit, it's a dark blue cross on a red background, I think, or vice versa. Something like that.
Okay, well, thanks for going over that.